Hey guys, it's Ellie. Today we're going to be looking at the spawn distance in 7 days. Now, I'm setting on this post as our center point. It's about to start Horde Night, so when they start spawning, we're going to see them up in here. I'm in the latest version up here. We're going to see this get started here in just a few seconds. Right? All these zombies are spawning in. They're not in front of us at the moment. We can kind of look to find them. They're all turned off over there. So we have a bunch of them joining in. We're going to wait until this stops moving. We want to make sure we're standing on our center point the entire time. This is pumped up to the max. We're just going to kind of wait. I think that's the last of them. So from here, no more of these guys are going to spawn. Sometimes they'll jump out. You don't want to kill them if they do that, because then another one will just spawn based off your location. Now that all those blocks are full, we make our way back up here. And let them all respawn. Looks like it's all of them. Alright, one more time. Looks like that's all of them. Now that the sun's up, we can kind of get a general sense where these things spawn. Horde Night zombies will spawn a minimum of 30 blocks away and a maximum of 50 blocks away. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this circle. From there, we're going to go back to Horde Night and we're going to watch them spawn in between the cracks. Alright, the outer circle and the inner circle are both done. So you can see zombies don't tend to spawn on the inside here, so long as you are on this point. And then the outside is where they tend to spawn in between these two distances, from 30 blocks all the way up to 50 blocks. Now the spawn mechanic of zombies is a little bit strange in the sense that the Y value is not calculated from the distance of your Y value. So when it comes to the height of the game, it'll go outwards in both of these directions from 30 to 50 blocks. But if you dig all the way underground, they're still going to spawn up here, even though your Y value is much farther away. They're not going to spawn on these points of the ground, even though it would be those 30 to 50 blocks above you. I'm going to spawn in this direction. All of these guys, as you can see, spawned inside of this radius. You notice the zombies are able to spawn under this bridge, but they don't spawn underneath these beams. And if we fill in these beams, now you'll notice there's no zombies that spawn in this little alcove here. And the reason for that is because of the blocks on top. When it spawns the zombies, it spawns them at the blocks at the highest of the heights. So these dirt blocks here are spawnable. However, zombies cannot spawn on frames or on concrete. So if it was to pick these locations, it would pick above. So if it chose that X and Z location away from you, it would pick the Y location up here and it would be unable to spawn the zombies. So if we put dirt blocks up here, it will make this a valid spawning spot for the zombies. I filled in half of these blocks up here. We're gonna let the zombie spawn. We're gonna see if any of them decide to spawn on top of it. We got one already. So even though the blocks that are underneath are spawnable locations, it will not spawn the zombies there because it will always be trying to spawn them above. So these blocks are spawnable. The zombies will get put here if it picks that distance away from you and in this direction, but it will not spawn them underneath, and it will not spawn them on the concrete or the wooden frames. This is why ocean bases work so well, because water blocks are not something that zombies can spawn on top of. So even though there is terrain at the bottom of the ocean where zombies can spawn, during a Horde Night, the Horde zombies code for spawning will put them at the top, which means it will be looking at the top of the ocean level where the water blocks are. And those water blocks are not spawnable blocks, which is why ocean bases do not spawn the Horde Night. So if we were to fill in this area here with frames, the Horde would not spawn at all. Well, we've got a bunch of zombies up here, which is good. I'm gonna fill this in super quick. Alright, so we're back. The entire circle is filled in, and we have 2 of these now, so we can get a sense of the directions that the zombies are coming from. Now the zombies are gonna be able to spawn. We're gonna see that they happen to be spawning on this side. And because these frames are here, the zombies are not going to be able to spawn here, so if it does pick any of these spots as a location, it will see the wooden frame and will be unable to spawn the zombie. As we already discussed, minimum of 30, maximum of 50 blocks, so everything is going to spawn up here. These underneath blocks I left blank because when it spawns them in, it spawns them at the higher positioning. So even though those are reasonable spaces that they could spawn, the game isn't going to choose to spawn them there. And this is just because I've maxed out the zombies. So if you use this design for a horde base, you have your center point here. The only downside is that it only works for the Horde Night zombies, so if a different zombie could spawn that's not part of the horde, it could spawn under there, it could spawn close by, it could spawn outside of the radius. This is only going to affect the spawns of the Horde Night zombies, and if you were to remove this part in the middle entirely, these zombies would not be able to spawn at all if you just had frames at the bottom there without a top piece. This is just to show you that it will always spawn them at the higher Y value, and that's not even because of the dirt. It's always going to attempt to spawn them at the higher Y value. So if we take out this dirt here, I'm going to do that in a second. If we do take out the dirt, it will prevent the spawning. It won't try to spawn them underneath here. Now that we've killed all the zombies, you'll see that when it does decide to choose a location for them to spawn. Oh, maybe just spawn them behind me. Nope, and it spawns it back there on the dirt, and you can see them over there. It's not going to be spawning them underneath this platform, because again, if it does choose that X and Z coordinate, it's going to pick the top Y coordinate, where these frames of concrete are, and zombies are not able to spawn on frames of concrete. They're only able to spawn on terrain blocks, such as dirt or sand or gravel. So they're always going to spawn in the back on those terrain blocks, and they will not spawn on these blocks even though they are terrain, because it will be trying to place them up here on the concrete blocks where they cannot spawn. We're going to see if we can wait for this count to hit max. Now that all our zombies are loaded in, we can move freely without worrying about them. Obviously our zombies are stopped. A few of, no, these are just loot bags. So all our zombies have spawned in over here. And none of them have spawned in down here. Everything is spawned on this terrain where we have placed them. Obviously I have the pathing turned off at the moment. But if you were making this your actual base, you could block this off entirely with frames at the bottom and not worry about the overhang. Or if you would like to farm them as some kind of corridor, you can just leave this open for them to travel through. If I start breaking some of these here, no particular order, no particular way. Then we go through and kill the zombies. So they're spawning down here now, and that's because there is nothing over top of them. And if there was blocks over top of them, they would be attempting to spawn on those blocks that are above them. But because there are no blocks above them, that is the highest Y value, and that is the value that it attempts to spawn, and then it will spawn. And that pretty much concludes testing for today. So to recap, the zombie spawn distance is a minimum of 30 blocks away from you and a maximum of 50 blocks away from you. They can only spawn on terrain blocks, and when they do spawn, they will attempt to spawn on the highest block. So if you have a terrain block, but there is a block above it, even if it is several blocks above it, that is a non-spawnable block, then the zombies will not spawn in that area. Thanks for watching, guys.